lot of times we just make the money and then we just let the money do whatever, versus when we can be strategic with what we want our money to do, our revenue, our finances, our cash flow. We can start looking ahead to make projections and come up with a budget and some different thresholds. Now we're telling our money, I want you to do this. I want you to go here. And because we can start looking so far forward in the future, now we can start being prepared.
Welcome to the 91 Day Success Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Mast, and I am thrilled today to have with me Cameron Williams. Cameron and I met recently when I was actually on his podcast, and he was sharing with me some of the services that he provides to digital marketing agencies. Cameron, not to put words in your mouth, but acting as a virtual CFO and really looking to have you share with our audience, both agencies and small businesses, a little bit more about what you do and things that, you know, as entrepreneurs, we should be paying attention to, because I'm guessing I'm not the only one that when it comes to taxes and finances and everything else, I want the money to spend and use, but I really don't want to keep track of all the details. So I'm guessing I'm not the only entrepreneur you've ever ran into like that. And I'd love to have you tell us a little bit about yourself, Cameron, and what you do. So for everybody that doesn't know you, give us the elevator pitch and tell us a little bit about who you serve and how you make their lives better, Cameron.
Okay. All right. That's a great question. I'm Cameron Williams, owner of KYNLI Consulting. We're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We've been doing this for, I think this will be year 6. We started July 2018. It's been such a fun, interesting journey, as it is with all entrepreneurship. Just a little bit of my background. Went to college, got a degree in account. You probably can see him like back here.
Yes.
This is the family wall. So an accounting degree, a finance degree, and then went right back and got my master's in accounting. Accounting and taxes, all I know. Literally, while I was working on my master's, went right into working for a CPA firm. Did that for 2 years while I was down in Valdosta, Georgia. Shout out to Valdosta State. And then we moved back home, which is, of course, Atlanta for me. I'm born and raised here. Then we moved from public, which would be your CPA firms, to what is called private accounting, which would be like working at your Coca-Colas, Pepsis, or whatever. Working my way up in a couple of different companies. And then, of course, we transitioned over to the business world. So that's a little bit of my background story. In regards to what we do, our main focus is helping marketing agencies to just live a life that's not centered around their money working them, but them working their money. You can see right here, we like to say strategic financial growth, because it's all about strategy when it comes to your finances. And a lot of times, which you hinted at right there in that intro, we just make the money and then we just let the money do whatever, versus when we can be strategic with what we want our money to do, our revenue, our finances, our cash flow. We can start looking ahead to make projections and come up with a budget and some different thresholds. Now we're telling our money, I want you to do this. I want you to go here. And because we can start looking so far forward in the future, now we can start being prepared for, oh man, I'm about to hire somebody else. Okay, how much is their salary? How much am I having to take home? Does that match? Do I need to wait? Do I need to raise my revenue and wait a quarter? Do I have plenty now? Can I afford it? All these different things are what we help you with. Of course, we will take care of your accounting, your bookkeeping for us. That's basic. That's elementary. The money to us and the value is given in the strategy part. And of course, taxes are a big part of that. To us, taxes are just a reflection of what you did the prior year. So we try to do a lot of tax strategy throughout the year. Let's position this here. Let's run the money this way because you'll get a better tax benefit here. Let's do it like that. So we get into a lot of tax strategy as well. And so that's us in about 3 minutes.
I love it. And I really appreciate the fact that you've really taken on that role as an advisor beyond just the tax guy and helping out, because I know, again, as entrepreneurs, that's something we often need help with, understanding, again, how the money should flow, where it needs to be spent, what things to do with it in order to minimize taxes. I think like most people, I understand taxes are like death. They happen. There's nothing I can do to get rid of them, and I got to pay them,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. But I also don't want to pay any more than I need to, and I know that there are strategies that can be employed that can help legally minimize my tax liability. And having a resource like you to help with that is just crucial, because it's, as entrepreneurs, we're busy running our businesses, keeping them growing, all the fun things that go on with team management. And oftentimes, if you're like me, and I'm guessing I'm not the only one, that financial part I'll get to it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes. So we need a Cameron on our team to help with that process. Talk to me a little bit, Cameron, about that consulting aspect. Obviously, the taxes, I think most entrepreneurs get that. Okay, you can help with taxes, you can help us minimize strategies. Talk to us a little bit more on the consulting. Why is it so important that as entrepreneurs and agency owners and coaches that we have someone like you on our team? And give me some examples, if you will, of how that can impact our ability to have the lifestyle we want, which is why most of us got into business in the first place.
That is a great question. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use probably this has been a crazy month. We've signed like 6 clients this month. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how we call them a discovery call, how they went. So maybe you can get a better picture of, oh, is that me? Or like, oh, snap, that sounds like me. So there's one guy we're actively talking with, like literally this week, where he has financials, but that's it. I don't know where they are. I don't get them all the time. I have no idea what they say. They don't talk to me. That's a situation where, and I tell people this all the time, I feel like us as an industry, being accountants, we suck. We're trash. I hate to say it, but we think that this is value, saying that, hey, these are office supplies. That's giving you a ton of value. No, it's not. You probably knew that. You just don't have the time to go and make it be all of that in the system. What is valuable, though, if I can say, hey, I don't know why, but you always are buying office expenses, and every month that category keeps creeping. Is there something? Are you like investing in a project or something? No, I just keep hitting the Amazon. But okay, maybe we can trim that. Let's limit that to X amount of money per month. That'd be an example. But going back to this story, what are we bringing to the table that will help him? I'm like, hey, one, we give our clients financials every month. Our clients may not read them, but they have them. So when that time comes and they need them to make a decision or invest or get a line of credit, they already know Cameron has it. I just got to connect them to the banker. And so where he wants to go, he's like, Cameron, I know I can make more money, but I just don't have a handle on this. And they're not being proactive. They're sweet. They're nice people, but they're not being proactive. They're just doing the bare minimum. And there's that. So that would be one example. Another client we signed last week, now this guy's making like over $2 million. And he's, I had a guy, he was, I've known him for a while, but I just don't feel comfortable. Because most of the time, Jonathan, I don't know how I know, but I know this is not the best I could be getting.
Exactly.
So he reached out to us, and I said, and part of our discovery call, I'm like, hey, bring it up on the screen. Like, we have nothing to hide. Let's see it. Because if I can't help you, I'm the type, hey, man, this is pretty good. So we go through the P&L, and I was like, you know what? It's not really too bad. I give it like a solid B plus. I'm not outside of cosmetics, like the way we specifically like it. I was like, this is doable. Let's go to the balance sheet, because the balance sheet is typically where your problems are. We go to the balance sheet. There's like a negative over $90,000 on the checking account. There's 5 credit cards, but 3 of them are like negative check balance and so, or negative credit card balances. So all I do is always ask questions. So I'm like, hey, do you have a checking account with negative $90,000 in it? What do you think somebody's going to say? No, absolutely not. We got money in there. I'm just reading to you what the balance sheet says. That's what it's telling me. And so there, oh my gosh, no. We get to the credit card. I said, well, hey, you got negative 48,000 on your credit card? Because that would mean that you overpaid Amex by $48,000, like a credit. So the only way you should be having a negative on your credit card is if, let's say, you paid $1,000 for a course and you get a refund. Then that may be the only negative, but it shouldn't be negative 48,000. And he's like, no, why does it look like that? I don't know. I didn't do it. I'm just diagnosing what I see. So those are the things that got him to say, dang, what did my guy do? What I paid him to do this work. I paid him to clean it up. He said it was complete. And so then you have to calm the person down, because they're like, do I go get my money back? I'm like, well, what did you tell him? I told him to reconcile it. Technically, he could have reconciled it and it ties out to the penny, but it still cannot be right. And people I don't get it. It should. It's not how it works in accounting. It's not, everybody thinks it's so simple. In theory, yes, it's you simply just put it in the right bucket. But in practice, there are so many more pieces to it. Another case we had was a guy who he was like, Cameron, and this one was funny because he used to be a client. He left us, not for any bad reason. He just went with somebody else. And then now full circle is coming back and he's like, yeah, my account is just not there. He's not available. He just doesn't really talk to us. And I need more than that. I need somebody who can be looking forward for me. I need him to completely take that off my plate. So that way, when it's time for me to make a decision, I have clean data. And so we go and start looking, and I'm like, okay, you made $1 million. Congrats. Because when we were working together, you were just getting started. And he's like, yeah, thank you, thank you. All right. Expenses was about 400K. So I'm like, are you gonna pay taxes on about 630? And he was like, this just don't feel right. I'm like, well, I said, let's look at the numbers. He starts showing me the breakdown. I'm like, where, mind you, we work with agencies. And the blessing in doing that is I pretty much know, give or take, what you should and shouldn't have on here, because most agencies, give or take, are about the same. Their top 3 expenses are going to be payroll and contractors, their monthly tech stack. The third one kind of varies. It can be like some people rent buildings. It's never going to be office supplies, but it may be something else. But the top 2, payroll and contractors, your monthly tech. That between those, maybe we'll split payroll and contractors into 2 separate ones. Between those 3, I know that's where most of your money is going.
You nailed it.
Where's all your tech at? Shouldn't you have if you are $1 million agency, your monthly tech stack shouldn't be like 10 or 12 grand. And he's like, I don't see this other credit card on here, and we put a ton of stuff on there. And where's all of our ads? I'm like, yeah, you told me you have ads. I don't see it. Come to find out, he was using a company called Bench. Shout out to Bench, because y'all did my guy dirty. They missed a whole credit card. Like the main credit card he uses to run a ton of his expense wasn't on here. So had he went on ahead and filed the tax return because they said it was done, he would have paid taxes on $632,000.
Wow.
Mind you, because I knew what I was looking for, and I'm just like, there's no way. Not saying you can't be that profitable. So let me back up. You can.
I get it.
It's possible.
I get it.
But in just knowing how agencies work, agencies on average profit margin, you're talking 20 to 25%, if not lower. But on average, 20 to 25%. That would have been like a 63% profit margin. And I'm like, there's no way. Because of the questions to ask, we find out they didn't even include the main credit card that he told them about months ago. And he had paid them like $5 grand to fix it all. So what we had to do was say, hey, go tell them it's done. Get your money back because they didn't do the work. And now that's a project we're working on. And if my math is right, let's just say we add $200,000. Would you rather pay taxes on $400,000 or $600,000? So
400 all day long.
That in and of itself is a tax saving move, because think about it. He would have paid that out. And the chances of you getting money back from the IRS, they're going to drag it out. Like we have somebody, they drug it out for like 2 years. But now if you owe them, they're going to take that real fast. That's in and out, So just think about, in that one move, we bring in $200,000 for expenses. And we're not even done because we just signed him like not even 2 weeks. So just think, man, I could be saving 80 grand all because my finances are correct. That's not even the good tax strategy. That's what we would consider the basic one. Let's just get it in here and get it correct. You know what's going on, and we didn't miss anything before we get to the fancy stuff. So those are like 3 different examples of people we've signed within the past 2 weeks, of different cases of how important it is to know these things, because you could literally overpay by not like thousands, but like tens and 20s and 40s and 50s of thousands. That's money you could have kept that's a whole person's salary, 50 grand.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a conference trip. That's you throwing an event to your target market to bring more people in. So hopefully I answered your question holistically.
You did. And I love how you really validated, you understand agencies and coaches and how we work. You're absolutely right on those 2 big costs that we all run into. And working with someone like you that understands that, it can certainly help out. As you take a look at your clients, Cameron, and obviously you've been doing this for a while, what are some of the, and I don't know if you've got this, I didn't prep you for this, but what are one or two things that you see that agency owners regularly just mess up on when it comes to their finances, either in how they're tracking, how they're paying for, anything that comes to mind that you could say, all right, here's a couple things that I see most agency owners don't do the right way or could do better. Any thoughts that come to mind on that?
All right, couple things. So one of the things that you can do better on is actually saving for your taxes. Like we're in tax season right now this second, because I don't know when this episode's on the air. But right now we're currently in tax season. A lot of people just didn't save for taxes, right? Because again, I'm making all the money. I'm focused on my day-to-day, keeping everything running. You probably had the money that you could have saved and put to the side, but you didn't. So every year you're scrambling to try to go make another sale or do another marketing campaign or run a new set of ads just so you can get some extra money to hurry up and pay it, or you just go on the payment plan. Absolutely not necessary if you're partnered with the right person. Because, like, for all our people, especially that are at our most popular package, which includes the tax strategy, they know, like, I'd be willing to say by April, they already know, hey, I'm already trending towards, I'm gonna make my million, I'm gonna spend 600,000. Okay, 400 grand taxes on that is, let's just say it's 100 grand. We're already planning on putting what in your tax savings account. So when we get to the next year, it's already there. So that's a big one there. A lot of people are paying contractors too much. And not to say I don't love contractors or overseas team people, but what happens is we do these projects that are so custom that they end up getting out of scope, which means that job now becomes not profitable. And so I'll be like, okay, on average, you may pay your contractors like 15 grand or 18 grand total. And I remember what at that point, our biggest client, I was like, what? Why is this at 30,000 or $35,000? They were like, we don't want to talk about it. I'm like, why not? Because it's this project, it keeps dragging on, which means we're having to overpay the contractor. It's way beyond scope now. So we're just trying to hurry up and finish it. So something that you thought was profitable is now no longer profitable. Now we're overspending and paying the contractor, which is why we tend to try to push, make sure if you can make them a W-2 person, it's a lot better for cost control. Another one that we see as a big issue is they don't know the profitability of each service. And we try to do it on a very basic level so that they can understand. But we had a client who was like, I'm going to do this webinar. All right, great, go for it. I don't know which package to pick to pitch. And I'm like, what are the packages? So we went through, she had like four, and she just knew the $5,000 package, because think about it, $5,000. Everybody's gonna be like, yeah, let's do it. 5K. We're gonna make that for every person. But when we started doing the numbers, the most profitable package was her $1,000, $1,000 a month package. Now, why is that? Because when you started breaking down what does it cost to fulfill the 5K package, she was like, oh, that's gonna take me like maybe 20, 30 hours a month, which, in a month time is not too bad, but in a week, 30 hours, that's almost a whole week. And so I'm like,
Yes.
okay, what about the thousand? So when we did all the math, it was like $166. I said, what about, let's break it down for the $1,000 package? Oh, that only cost me 2 hours a month to fulfill. Basically, you can make $500 an hour, and you actually like this package, and you feel like it's easy because it just flows out. The genius just flows out your body, but you want to sell the 5,000 because it's a bigger number. But it's going to require way more of your time, way more back and forth with the client, way more resources that need to be poured in. So what do you think you ended up selling? The $1,000 package. So not knowing your service breakdown and going back to these people we just signed, you saw sales revenue or just sales income. I'm like, there's no way you can know what's helping you, what your services are tailored to fit. How profitable are you? Is your most profitable service the one you really don't like? Or is it the one you really like, the second most profitable, and we're just not putting enough time in it? Those things are important because remember, we're trying to build our business to support us, to enable us to spend more time with the kids or to travel the world more or do more date nights or whatever that looks like. If you're spending all your time on that, all your biggest package, which requires more of your time as the owner, when are you going to have time to go to little Johnny's baseball game or Kim's gymnastics tournament or go to the gym or go on a walk or go on a date? Because you're going to always be working to try to fulfill those. So I would say those are probably, I'm not going to say top three, but three big ones that we see. Preparing for tax savings, not knowing how profitable your services are, and whatever I said that second one was.
No, I think those are amazing tips, Cameron. I know as I talk to other agency owners, I know one of the things that comes up all the time is not really understanding, as you were sharing, how profitable certain services are. And we often think, well, this is better because it's more money. But like you said, if it takes us 50 hours to deliver on a $5,000 offer, and it takes us 2 hours to deliver on a $1,000 offer, we'd be a whole lot better doing more of those $1,000 offers than we would be doing those $5,000 offers in that scenario. And I see that happening all the time. You also mentioned about contractors and obviously overpaying and that type of thing. That's an issue. I know a lot of people in the agency world are working with offshore resources and things like that. I know there's always questions about that from a tax perspective. How do they handle that? What do they do? Any quick advice? And I'm sure it's different in every situation, so I'm not going to ask you to try to give me a universal truth here, but if I'm an agency and I'm either employing people offshore or looking to have more of a global workforce, what are some things that I should be paying attention to from an accounting and tax perspective and a numbers perspective?
Okay, great question. So I would advise you to not pick the cheapest because I think I can get this VA for $5. Yeah, but you got to tell them everything and they're not proactive and they may
Yes.
communicate to your client. So why not pay them $15 and you get a way better whatever? I'm a believer that you need to know the culture. So there are some people that we've talked to, like even on our podcast. Oh, you need to go like Eastern Europe. There's some people like go Latam. There's some people that are like go Philippines. There's some people like go India. To us, that's irrelevant. I always just want you as the agency owner to realize a few things with that. Hey, what's the personality and the demographic of who you're hiring, right? Because, and this is a stereotype, so I'm throwing this out there now. But for example, the Philippine workforce, they're a lot more passive. We will probably call them doers. You tell them do A, B, and C, they're going to do it great. But from a proactive standpoint, that's just not who they are as a culture. They're not going to go above and beyond and think unless you do some serious training or pay top tier money to get those types that can really see forward in the future. Their culture is one of more super polite, work really hard, and are doers. So you need to make sure you're picking the right demographic with the right mindset for whatever position that you need. They may be perfect to be your account managers or SEO people, but they may not be the best to make a CFO. You see what I'm saying?
I
Or
do.
so there's that. I'm a big proponent of pay them what they're worth. And don't try to be cheap with it. Go above and beyond and pay them because you're still going to end up paying them less than a US person. So pay for the quality so that they can really do everything you want. Those would probably be the two biggest ones from a tax perspective. If they're overseas, that's not going to really affect you. You don't have to file 1099s from, and you definitely want to pay attention to what we're starting to do with our clients. We're breaking out US contractors versus overseas contractors so they can see the price difference that they're paying. And of course, for January, that makes it easier when it's time to do 1099s because, of course, overseas wouldn't get them versus US people would. So those are some probably quick things I would say. Make sure you have a bunch of SOPs in place to make it easy, and then try to bring them into your culture and teach them from the beginning outcomes. I don't want my people doing ABC. The outcome is we have to finish month end close. You know the steps that we typically do to get there, so you don't have to ask me like, "Hey, can you download this?" All right, what do we do next? The end result is completion. So train them to think that way from the front end, and you'll end up over the long haul with a lot better results.
Boy, great advice there, Cameron, and really, I think spot on with what you're talking about. I see that a lot, especially I want to highlight the hiring the cheapest one. we all get the ads and get approached all the time with hire somebody and get a VA for $3 an hour. And yeah, it's possible, I'm sure. But like you said, you get what you pay for. And we've definitely seen that with whether it's US based or globally based.
Well,
You're
the same thing with the accounting, right? They'll be like,
sure.
oh, I have somebody and they're just not proactive and they're not giving me strategy and they're not telling me what to do with my money and helping me with savings and helping me with my cash flow. And so I asked them, like, well, how much, if you don't mind me asking, how much do
Hmm.
you pay them per month? I'm using bench and it's only $97 a month, or I'm paying somebody in the Philippines $250 a month, or I'm doing this US bookkeeper and only paying them $300. You're not going to get tax strategy and financial projections and strategy and consulting and tax return included for $300. It just doesn't work that way. That's a
Absolutely.
completely different skill set from a much higher qualified individual. That's not to say a bookkeeper can't be great, but it's like you asking a entry level college graduate how to come be your CMO. It's the skill level is way too, they don't know how to think that way. So it's
Hmm.
the same thing with those VAs. Yes, you could get away with paying them $3, $4, $5. But think about it. If you paid them 10, 12, 15, 20, do you know how much more of a better candidate that will be
Hmm.
way more excited, way more proactive, and can get way more work done without needing to check in with you? Same thing with accounting, your marketing, your ads, your PPC, your campaigns, your across the board. You want quality, save up. I'm not saying don't start with that $3 or $4
Hmm.
because when you're only making 5K a month, you do what you need to do. But once we start hitting 10, 11, 15, 20 grand, we have to make that mindset shift. And this is something we have to talk about with our clients. I have one client, he's like, Cameron, can I make that move? This isn't when we first started working together 2 years ago, where you only had 3K or 4K in the bank. You literally have $40,000. I think you'll be fine. He was like, wow, I guess I never slowed down to think about how far I've come. You don't have to make those same choices to pinch pennies when you're making 25,000 a month and there's 40 grand in the bank. You can afford to pay for that higher qualified.
Hmm.
So that's another thing that we have to work with agencies on. You may have came to me when you were only making 15 grand. You make 25, you make 40, you make 50, 60, 70, 80 now. Two different worlds and two different ways to operate.
I love the fact that you're familiar with both sides of that. So again, as you talked about when I was on your podcast, your job is to help us grow and help us as agencies take the right steps to make sure that we can do that growth and grow well through the process. I love how you work as not just again a tax guy or not just a bookkeeper, but really as that valued partner, because finances are a big part of making a business work properly and be successful. And again, I loved your example. I think of it all the time. We're in the digital marketing world, and we see people all the time come out of college that nothing against college, at least not on this particular soapbox. They think they know everything about marketing and that they've got the world by the horns. And then you find out they don't know anything because everything they studied is 3 years old. They don't know anything about real world stuff. And again, that same thing can happen because we see it happen with clients sometimes. We hired a new marketing director. That marketing director is 22 years old and has never run a marketing campaign in their life, but they got a degree. And it's the same thing if you're going to hire that inexpensive resource from wherever, you're not going to get the experience. And I certainly can attest after being in the agency world for now 14-ish years, experience not only on my part, but on the part of my team matters greatly. And paying a little bit more to get that experience oftentimes gets you 2 to 3 times the productivity and value without having to spend 2 to 3 times as much. You may spend double, but you might get 3 to 4 times more value for that investment. And so I love your advice there, Cameron. That's fantastic. One of the things we love to ask in the name of our podcast, and I did not, by the way, if you're watching, I didn't prep Cameron on this one, so I'm going to drop a bomb on him here, but I think he can handle it. So the name of our podcast is the 91 Day Success Podcast. And one of the things we love to do is we love to ask, if you were advising someone that was going to be starting a brand new business, starting over, they wanted a new side hustle, whatever the case may be, you had $1,000 to invest in the business, and your goal in 90 days or 91 days, because that's really 3 months, your goal in 91 days was to be generating $10,000 in revenue. What would you advise someone to look at? And you don't necessarily have to give me specific skills or industries, but in general, what advice would you give to somebody like that, Cameron? Again, $1,000, they don't have to worry about expenses. They got a roof, they got food, they're going to make it, but they've got $1,000 to invest in this business, and they've got 90 days to prove to their spouse, their significant other, themselves, that they can generate 10 grand in revenue. Any thoughts on what you might recommend there, Cameron?
This is a good one. Marketing agency, you're trying to get to 10 grand. First off, I think we already know you have to know what your offer is. So are we assuming they already know their offerings?
I mean, probably, yeah. I'm going to assume we can make any assumptions we want here, because this is a good what if. If you say,
Okay.
hey, you have your offer, you know who you're going to target, that's great. You may say, you know what, maybe somebody's starting from scratch and they need to find somebody with money and a problem to fix it. But whatever makes sense for you.
All right, let's say I'm going to paint the picture. So you're a marketing agency owner. You worked in corporate, you're about to make this transition. So you have your actual corporate experience. So first thing is have your offer dialed in so you know who, what, when, how you're going to help somebody. I would suggest you get a QuickBooks account, get the essentials. It's only like $42 a month. So I would do that. Why? Because even if you never touch it, as long as you hook it up, everything will be there. And whenever you get to whoever your accountant or bookkeeper is, it'll be ready. 3, I would say you need 3 to 5 different marketing strategies. Why that? Because I'm almost going to guarantee you 2 of them not going to work. So like in our case, we used to try to do all these marketing events and networking. It didn't really work, but I had other things so that if that didn't work, I had things to keep me moving. So that would be the third one. Don't try to overspend and get you a team member. You don't need a team member if you're on your way to $10,000. You can do it all right now. Be okay with the fact that you're going to have to work late. Your hours are probably going to be crazy. That's the name of the game when you switch over, because you are now sales, marketing, finance, HR, client relations, client success, contract management, and legal, and all of those. So you're going to have to be okay with this is no longer 9 to 5 where I get off and I'm done. This is life now. You're in it. And those would probably be the top things. And then just be persistent. You're going to have to make sales. So make sure that on a weekly basis, you're doing the activities that will help you to make said scale. A lot of times I can think back, some of the things I didn't necessarily help me to make a scale. It helped me to grow my network, but that network wasn't a CAM network. It was just a network. Like they weren't looking out for me. It was I could come home with 20 business cards, but when I follow up with them, I was the one always giving. It was never reciprocal. So make sure you're connecting with the right people that will put your name in the right rooms and bring you into new opportunities and open doors versus just, I went to a networking event, I shook 20 hands. I'd rather you shake 3 hands, but you had a great conversation and it can go somewhere than the other way around.
Solid advice there, Cameron, and I think really good for anybody thinking of doing it. We see that all the time, obviously, where somebody's been in a corporate job and they're now going to head off and do it on their own. And I think it's really easy, targeting on the last thing you said there, to focus on being busy, but not necessarily being profitable. And I think really sound advice there from you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Cameron, if people have been listening, and obviously we have a lot of agency owners and entrepreneurs in our audience, and if they're thinking, man, I like the way Cameron talks, this is a little different than what I'm hearing out of my normal tax guy or my normal accountant, they want to get in touch with you and find out what you may be able to do for them. Tell me, one, what they should do, how should they get in touch with you, but also what should they expect in that first interaction with you? What's that look like, and what can they expect?
All right, great question. So for us, what we like to do is a discovery call. It's between an hour. Sometimes it goes a little bit over if the person gets excited. But it's an hour call where we get to talk about you. And we always say, all right, this is your hour. Tell me what's going on, what's causing you stress, what's making you anxious, what does a perfect relationship with an accountant look like? And we just let them just spill their guts. Everybody thinks that their specific situation is the worst. So I promise you it's not. And I tell people all the time, we don't judge. Like, to us, it's numbers. It's no different than reading a book is just words.
Sure.
To us, it's just numbers. So it's not like we're attaching, oh man, that guy has negative 90 grand in his bank account. That means he's terrible. No, it's probably a mistake. We just need to fix it. So we'll go through that. What we've been doing that's been really helpful to the prospect is doing that diagnostic on the call so that they can see in real time. Like, we don't have anything to hide. I'm looking at your numbers. Let's walk through them. Do you even understand this? Does this make sense? Do you even have financials? Let's get the foundation built first. And then I have this, I make everybody laugh, but I'm like, I'm not a marketing agency, but we're going to look at this because I know most people need visuals. So we'll go through what you could do to possibly work with us. And then we'll end it with, is it the right move for you? We always try to handle the foundation first before we get to the flashy. So don't come to us thinking we're going to do 50 million flashy things. And no, we're going to get the foundation super, super sturdy, because that's where a lot of the magic is. We tell people we typically can finish whatever that project is within 60 to 90 days. And we always make them laugh at the end, because I'm like, I got to warn you. We're very proactive over here. So you're going to talk to us a lot in the first 60 days. And everybody's like, okay. I said, I have to tell you that because you're coming from a situation where the accountant never talked to you or they ghosted you. And so that's a big jump from never talk to me to this guy talks to me twice a week or once a week and asks these great questions. So that's what it's like to come on in that first interaction with us. You ask, how could they connect with us? You can always go to KYNLI.com. That's KYNLI Consulting.com. The easiest way, though, is probably just reach out on Facebook. I'm not on there 24/7, but I keep Messenger open because everybody always has a tax question.
Yes, they do.
Or, hey, I saw your post where you mentioned this. Tell me about. So just shoot us a DM there, Cameron Williams, my regular name. We post a lot of free content on our Facebook, on Instagram, on our socials. So our goal there is just to serve first. I try to give you a lot of content to make you think, is this what we're doing? Oh, I didn't consider this. And just some of the same things we talked about, but in video form or in text format. But the biggest thing I would say is just come ready to learn and put in the work. We want to partner and walk with you, so that way you can get where you know you're supposed to be. It does you no good to, man, I can make 50 grand a month, but we're spending 45. Or is it, I'm stuck at the 15, 20K a month mark, but I know if I have more clarity on my numbers, I know I can make these changes and then do ABC. So just come ready to work, come ready to partner with us. We're going to be as invested in your business, maybe not as much as you are because you're the owner, but we want to partner with you. We want to see you succeed. We want to save you money where we can. We want to help you increase your profit margins when we can. And most importantly, we want to make it to where the machine is moving so to where I'm getting paid regularly. I have plenty of money to pay my bills. We have a cash cushion. We got our taxes already being saved on a monthly basis, so we're not going to be scared when we owe money. We already know what kind of money we're going to have to pay for taxes. That's what we want to do for you, to just take that stress off your plate, help your business increase their valuation, help you know where you need to invest more time in, help you to know when it's time to get that next team member, whoever that may be, etc.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. We'll put that in the show notes as well and make sure we'll add that on the video here. And Cameron, I just want to thank you for joining us today. I know it's been a busy time of year for you, obviously, and I really appreciate you taking time out to sit and join with us. And I'm really excited about connecting you with some of our audience, because if you're looking for someone that understands the agency world, I've talked to a lot of financial people and Cameron gets it. And I encourage you to reach out, have that discovery call with him. So Cameron, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for watching and joining us. We so appreciate you. And remember, if you like our podcast, we would appreciate it if you'd share it with your friends, your other people, your peers, and then always love your reviews and feedback as well. Thanks, everyone, and make it a great day.